Good Thursday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harapsky. Breaking news this afternoon, Kristi Noem is out as the Secretary of Homeland Security. That is according to President Trump. Noem will be replaced by Oklahoma State Senator Markwayne Mullin. Noem's tenure as secretary has been marked with controversy over how she handled Operation Metro Surge here in Minnesota, how she responded to the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good at the hands of federal agents, and how she ran FEMA. Noem also, while testifying just this week, members of Congress hurled allegations at her suggesting self-dealing with government contracts and extramarital affairs while in office. Those are allegations. Noem will be moving to a role as a special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere. More on this news coming up at 4, 5, and 6. A new video just into the newsroom of the damage following the 6th day of strikes in the Iranian capital of Tehran. Smoke can be seen rising above several spots across the city. Cameras were also able to see the damage done to a sports arena there in the city. Iran says that it has launched its own strikes against Israel today. Israeli officials say they have intercepted several incoming missiles today. And as that war rages on, thousands of Americans are stranded in the region as Iran retaliates with strikes of its own. Now, the Trump administration is racing to get those Americans out, with the State Department saying that it has helped 10,000 people so far. NBC's Keir Simmons reports from Dubai.
Hey there, good day to you. News from Qatar that residents are being evacuated from around the U.S. Embassy in the capital there at Doha after a tense phone call between the Qatari Prime Minister and the Iranian Foreign Minister. We've been seeing a bombardment today, and here in the UAE too, the UAE is saying 131 drones, 6 missiles fired here just today. Of course, Americans are caught in the middle. We spoke to a father, his son turning 1. He just turned 1 yesterday, and he is going to Tampa to try and be there for his son's first birthday on Sunday. He made it finally onto a plane last night, and he will be landing there in New York and then on to Tampa today. So at least some good news. But so many other Americans we've spoken to here in Dubai and across the Gulf region, there are thousands who are here on vacation, on business, and many more who live here. They say they have been struggling to get help and advice. The State Department saying it is surging more flights to this region, and that 17,500 Americans have been able to leave the Middle East safely. Keir Simmons, NBC News, Dubai.
Checking back in on gas prices, which have taken dramatic jumps since fighting began in Iran. Right now, the national average is $3.25. Minnesota's average is also over $3 right now. Worst prices centered around the metro. We've reported before about our Feeding Our Future fraud suspects billing the state for other reimbursement programs. Well, ever since the 79th defendant was charged, our Lou Raguse has been collecting data on Fahima Mahamud's connections.
At the former Future Leaders Early Learning Center at 36th and Chicago Avenue in Minneapolis, the signage is strewn in the playground. But last year, there was no daycare in the entire state of Minnesota that received as much Child Care Assistance Program, or CCAP, money as Future Leaders. $3.7 million, according to state data collected by KARE 11, totaling $10.2 million over the last 4 years. Its owner, Fahima Mahamud, faces a federal wire fraud charge after claiming to serve meals to 1,000 children a day during the pandemic at Future Leaders, collecting more than $1 million alleged fraudulent dollars for that. And public records show Mahamud has received even more taxpayer money. This autism center at 38th Street and Oakland Avenue was incorporated by Mahamud in 2020. At first called Safe Nursing Home, she wrote, "I want to change Safe Nursing Home to Minneapolis Autism Center Corp." Minneapolis Autism Center has received $469,000 since then, and the ownership appears to have been transferred multiple times, according to the Secretary of State documents. Back to the daycare, Mahamud closed it down on January 24th, according to the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. 2 weeks later, she was arrested after booking a flight out of the country.
A new child care center under a very similar name was allowed to reopen on that same spot the very next day.
As noted in the legislature's fraud committee, it's now called Leaders Child Care Center. The new owner picked up the old signage from the playground while we were there and confirmed they're open.
That's Lou Raguse with another excellent report. The new owner would not say if he has any affiliation to Fahima Mahmood. He was operating a daycare in Hopkins that has been closed for almost a year and then moved the dormant license to the Minneapolis location. In a statement, the State Department of Children, Youth, and Families said that they have previous license violations, but those don't indicate fraud. Developing now. One of the top bills at the state capitol this session is to fight fraud, and it is the proposal for a new statewide office of Inspector General. Under this proposal, the statewide Inspector General would have the power to investigate fraud across all state agencies. It passed the Senate with broad bipartisan support last year, but in the tied House, the two parties are stuck over the structure of the office. A House DFL proposal would lean on the BCA's expertise for investigations, while the House GOP says the Inspector General should have their own law enforcement division to preserve independence.
The things that we're not willing to give up on that the DFL seems to be pushing are the removal of the law enforcement piece. That's so important.
We think that there's enough independence already baked into the bill in other ways. Plus, we trust the sworn law enforcement officers at the BCA. These are not political appointees.
Bill has failed to advance out of committee twice this session already, but both parties say that they're hopeful they're going to find a solution. Developing right now, a new move from the House Oversight Committee in their investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The committee has voted to subpoena U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. GOP-led panel wants Bondi to testify about her role in the Justice Department's release of the Epstein files. Republican Representatives Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert joined three other Republicans and Democrats in supporting this subpoena. Before the vote, the oversight chairman said Bondi reportedly offered to brief members in small groups about the files. Right now, we go back to the school where folks felt under siege during Operation Metro Surge. Hundreds of kids stayed home during the raids, learning online. Now, many have come back to class, and this is all part of the picking up the pieces stories. Here's Sammy Salina.
The hallways at Valley View Elementary in Columbia Heights are louder than ever.
You can feel the school's full.
Principal Jason Coolman says a fifth of his school switched to online learning during Operation Metro Surge. 4 of his students were detained by ICE, including Liam Conejo Ramos.
I think we're seeing a lot less occurrences of ICE in the community.
Most students are now back.
A lot of the kids coming in were so excited, and just the joy, the hugs, the tears from staff to see all of our kids coming in was just, it was amazing.
For months, Valley View staff and volunteers have been keeping watch for ICE, carpooling to school, and delivering food to families.
Still helping families with basic needs, but the intensity of it has drastically increased.
Nicole Hergy is the school's social worker.
I have been having a lot of conversations with families who now, after 3 months of not working, are really struggling.
In fact, Valley View is delivering food to more families than ever before.
I spent the whole weekend getting rent help for families.
Hergy is also trying to support nearly 100 children who are learning online reintegrate.
Their development is affected by it. Their functioning is affected.
Ruth Cartagena Mars is a school therapist with the Washburn Center for Children.
I think the biggest part of the conversation is the psychological safety. It's enforcing predictability again. It's enforcing structure again.
Both Ruth and Nicole have been doing classroom lessons on worries or feelings. They've been meeting with students individually or in small groups.
I think we're going to see students that have fallen behind. I also think we're going to see students that could be triggered by just, environmental things that are a normal part of the day.
And while it's good to see kids are back,
it's not just going to go away overnight.
Fear hasn't left.
We're going to come out better than we went in. Will we come out unharmed? No. There's harm been done. What was done was not right. But do I think we're going to come out stronger? Absolutely, I do.
Liam's family has asked for privacy, but we're told that Liam is all doing pretty well. Valley View is still missing one 5th grader who is being detained with family at Dilley in Texas. The school helped them obtain a lawyer, and they hope that they can return soon. Developing right now, the Minneapolis City Council has approved a new position for MPD to help officers deal with PTSD. That's after Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says the demands of Operation Metro Surge, along with other traumatic incidents over the past year, are putting renewed focus on officer mental health within the department. The new police health and wellness position will lead a newly created health and wellness division. Last night, he presented a report on the impact of Operation Metro Surge on MPD. It shows more than 1,000 officer days off were canceled, while 911 calls increased by 10%. O'Hara says that the operation also took a major toll on the department's budget, with $6.4 million spent on overtime between January 1st and February 8th.
Do you have anything specifically that you're doing to control cost overruns, get things back within budget?
We're going to be more efficient. I think, especially with patrol, the way we handle things, you do not expect this level of overtime to be necessary for the rest of the year.
MPD initially proposed funding the role by eliminating 2 other positions, including a community social worker. Developing right now, parts of Missouri are drying out after heavy rain overnight flooded neighborhoods there. Water started rising about midnight, forcing local authorities to go house to house and make sure that people were getting to higher ground there. Right now, it's not clear how many people were rescued. Thankfully, there are no reports of any serious injuries. New today, Six Flags is selling several of its amusement parks in North America, including Valley Fair in Shakopee. Before we get into the details of the sale, the company says that there will be no changes to its schedule, and parks passes already purchased for 2026 will be honored this year. The park is being sold to EPR Properties. It's based in Kansas City. They'll take over management when the sale goes through. Six Flags says it's selling the properties to focus more on parks that it thinks have a better growth potential. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.